Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's going on?
Oh man, I'm excited.
Really?
Yeah, I'm excited about today's
Ready to mix
episode.
things up?
Yeah, man. I'm excited for so many different reasons. I don't even know where to start. Actually, I do know where to start. I'm going to start by introducing Joel Johnson, the creator of Mixtape the Game. Hi, Joel.
Good morning, gentlemen.
What's going on?
AFC Championship,
Yeah.
Super Bowl bound.
And we got to make sure this comes out before the Super Bowl now. Anyway, yes, go Chiefs. Go Chiefs.
And
Now-
we get to play Silicon Valley. Screw those guys.
Yeah, sure. I forgot about that. Do you know what? The last time Kansas City locked horns with San Francisco, we lost in the 2014 World Series. I'm pretty sure Madison Baumgartner is still
That's funny.
throwing pitches out at the K.
Nice.
Are they going to have that one jackass be the announcer? Joe, what's his name?
Joe Buck.
Oh my God!
Isn't
Please
that
no.
baseball?
Please no! Please no!
I'm pretty
please
sure
no.
that's a baseball thing. Does he do
Yeah.
football too?
Please no.
Who knows? That is definitely, he is amongst the most hated people in
He'll
Kansas
still
City.
be talking about Bumgarner while calling the Chiefs.
You know who is not one of the most hated people in Kansas City?
Joel.
Joel. Yeah.
Thanks.
So anyway, for those of you that are longtime listeners, not ever callers, you're aware that we play Mixtape the Game. You're possibly aware that we have, Matt and I in Full Scale have also invested in the game. Why? Because it's so much fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. So we figured that we're going to finally tell the story of Mixtape the Game, and we have a special announcement. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss this, people.
Ooh.
So Joel, for those that haven't listened, what is Mixtape the Game?
Oh, I should know this by heart, but I don't. Mixtape is a party game that allows people to make connections with each other via songs from their past or their future or whatever comes off the top of their head.
Okay. So for those of you listening, you know that we often draw cards from the Mixtape deck. I'm about to slap your hand, Watson. Keep your hands off the Mixtape
For
cards.
those who are watching on YouTube, I'm holding it up.
You should hold the side up that actually.
Oh,
yeah.
fail.
Yeah.
It's the other way.
There you
around.
go.
We
This
There
is why I do the heavy lifting around here.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mixtape's is a party game, and you pull it. There you go.
Card game.
It started there, but that's not where the
There you
story ends. But you basically you pull a card out.
Yeah. Pull a card, read the scenario. Everyone in the group then gets to go through their catalog of songs from their past, from
Well,
college, from high school.
Let's play one. I just pulled a card from the Mixtape deck. By the way, mixtapethegame.com. You just won the $60 million lottery. What song plays as you go to pick up your check?
Is there really any choice?
It's one of those big checks, too.
Is it really any choice?
It's got to be "Fuck You" by CeeLo Green.
I know, but we banned that from play.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What about Forget You by CeeLo?
the
Or
coach?
"Rollin'" by Limp Bizkit.
Yes, also banned. We just banned the entire Limp Bizkit catalog. Matt likes to. So anyway, we would all pick an answer. I'm going to pick "Money" by Pink Floyd.
Celebrate.
Good one.
I already answered.
"Fuck You" by CeeLo
Yeah.
Green. All right, I'm voting for Joel.
All right, I'll vote for Joel.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So Joel would have won.
Joel
We are not allowed to vote for ourselves. And you just play and play and play and play. So Joel, how do you go about starting a party game? At what point are you like, you know what? This is my startup. This is my business.
You want from the very beginning,
Yeah.
like when I thought the idea might work and be tangible. But based off the success of Cards Against Humanity, we had played that with friends, found it to be funny and a good time, but it did get old eventually. There wasn't any real personal connections because you were playing answers that someone else had written. So, being from a family of music lovers, family reunions and stuff like that, we'd always play music. We're always laughing, dancing, drinking, partying. And we thought, what if we could kind of capture that same type of interaction where you get to choose what you think is the best card or song and bring a little music into it. So being, having a little background in product design, we took kind of the same model and started writing scenarios just off the top of our head and forcing each other to pick songs that fit those scenarios. So that was kind of the real basic start of it.
And when was that?
That was actually like 2013.
Okay.
So probably 2 years before I actually said, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to write 200 scenarios. I'm going to design a logo and the box and start branding this thing and seeing if I could get it into a physical form that I could tangibly hold in my hand and share with people.
So some of these scenarios are pretty crazy. Were you guys on drugs when you came up with these?
Not at the time, but we all have a dark history.
You're writing Falcor from the Never Ending Story.
It's true.
And blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
what song is playing?
I mean, we wanted it to be.
Do you have to be on drugs to come up with
Maybe,
that?
yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
I don't think you do.
I mean, everyone loves the never-ending story.
And everyone's on drugs. So what's the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted there to be some irreverence to it,
Some of them are really funny.
Yeah, there was, you can add structure to it. You can keep track of points and all that and make it as serious as you want. But the general feeling amongst me and my brothers and our friends was that we just wanted it to be fun and silly.
Well, I think you hit it earlier when you said everybody loves music, and I think people have always played different kinds of games with music, maybe more ad hoc. Like I always remember when I was younger, my family would get together and just play like Name That Tune and
Sure.
stuff like that, just spinning records or whatever back then. But yeah, I think it's great that you've made a music game, and I'm not very. Are there other music games like this out there that exist?
I still don't. Well, there's a knockoff of Mixtape, but we don't have to talk about that.
We'll get into that later. How about
Yeah,
that?
but no, there really wasn't, which is also part of the reason I felt like I could move forward, because we were replicating the structure of games that exist, but there wasn't anything like it.
Well, there's got to be like 50 games like Cards Against Humanity now
For
that
sure.
are not music related, right?
Yeah.
And some of them are fun.
Yeah.
They're all fun. I've got a couple different ones, and they're a good time.
Yeah.
So there's 200 cards in the deck.
Yeah.
Okay. So you write these scenarios and, all right, this is 2015 now, right?
Yeah.
So in that 2-year interim, were you guys just kind of randomly kind of poking around with like, you played at the family functions or
anytime we went
just kind of making up your own game?
Exactly. We would just play a group of friends. We'd say, okay, you come up with a scenario off the top of your head. And some of those ended up in the deck. Some of them were more serious, but yeah, we just started kind of play testing it just in a social environment with no cards at all, and found out that we could do it for about 2 hours straight and not get bored with it. So we were onto something. So it was like, okay, I'm actually going to make this happen. Kickstarter, seemed like a viable option as far as getting it financed. I didn't have the money to do it, so I reached out to a company called Ad Magic, which had done the first Cards Against Humanity deck via Kickstarter. So Cards Against Humanity raised, X amount of dollars, and they had this company print the decks for them. So I knew the quality of the cards. I knew what the box looked like. And they seemed to be kind of the entity for these indie card games that were coming out, that they were the ones that most people were using for production. So reached out to them, got a dollar amount, started writing out the Kickstarter, researching, what your Kickstarter campaign needs to look like. And
what'd you learn during that? Because there's people that are listening that probably like to know.
Do your research. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to do a Kickstarter. What I pulled that I thought was most valuable was I already had the branding in mind. So they were looking at what was more or less gonna be a finished product. I had already done the branding. I had already written some of the copy, and I wanted the copy that I wrote via the Kickstarter campaign to match the personality of what the end result was going to be. So it wasn't really formal, the same sense of humor that I've written a lot of the scenarios with, which is just an extension of me and my personality, is what I mirrored via the Kickstarter. I also learned that no one gives a shit about you or your product initially. you think that, well, this is going to be huge because I play tested it with 50 people and they all said, yes, I would buy this if it was a deck. You have to push for it. And sometimes you have to ask for your family to.
Well, it's like everything we all think like if you build it, they will come, but
right.
It doesn't really work that way.
Sure.
Well, one of the things that I've learned with the crowdfunding kind of stuff, and you mentioned like you build it, just because you build it, they're not going to come. You're like, you have to promote it, you have to push it, you have to get it out there. You can't just like drop it in. I'm sure there are a few things that dropped into Kickstarter and someone, they took off, and and then there's also like a whole huge amount of things that no one funded at all.
Right. It was interesting too, because, Mixtape falls, it kind of walks the line where we're not in the hardcore board game, card game world. We're kind of in both worlds. So people that don't have a closet full of games enjoyed it. And then people that, have every single indie card game or board game you can think of, they loved it as well. But it was difficult because we weren't getting a lot of attention from both of those audiences. Typical board game geek, which is actually a website, they review all kinds of board games. Like they just didn't find it interesting because it wasn't a strategy game and it wasn't a fantasy game in that typical sense of most of the stuff that they would play. And the casual person doesn't necessarily go buy board games every week.
I don't like games like that. I don't want to sit down and like have to get into some deep strategy or like have to have played 400 times to be any good.
Right.
Or to have to carry dice with me like Johnny.
Right. But in the
everywhere he goes, he's got dice.
Yes, Johnny. And I just asked Johnny to bring me something to drink, so he probably didn't hear that. But that said, Johnny actually has dice in his backpack. Like he's down to play.
Sure.
About anything. He's got like
he's ready to roll.
Different kinds of dice.
Right. And there were some limitations even building the campaign because I had to put it in the board games category, but that audience wasn't necessarily the perfect fit for it. It should have been in a music or, a little bit more broader of a category.
So how did the Kickstarter campaign go?
It went good. I mean, I got to half the amount I needed in about 15 days.
What amount were you trying to raise?
I was trying to raise $15,000.
And for those of you that aren't aware, those things are all or nothing. So you get to your goal or you get nothing. So if you got 14,999 not funded,
you got zero. Yeah, so I got halfway in about 2 weeks, which was rad. I think that's what I just said. Anyway, it happened fast, mostly built off of friends of friends here in Kansas City.
So what were your offers?
What do you mean?
Like, was it just one? Was it like, hey, you can buy a mixtape deck, or did you?
The tiers were broken down. It was just $1 was just thanks, you get nothing. $5, I think I gave you a shout out. It went up to $100 was my biggest tier, and what that did was you got to write a card, and I would put your name on it and the city, and we would publish it in the first deck.
Did anybody do that?
Yeah, we had about 15 takers in that regard.
So a little follow-up recently, and Matt, you weren't here on this day, but we did an episode called My Bear Jeff, where Rachel Cohen, local entrepreneur, did a buy one, give one bear, which did reach its goal. So she went for 20,000. She got up to like 21,000 and change. And a whole bunch of kids that are trauma victims are receiving free bears.
That's awesome.
Now with that, she had $160 option, which was get one, give five.
Oh wow!
And I did that. But they had some other ones too, where you could just like Daryl, our COO, did a $25 one, which just gave away a bear or whatever. But that was, and it was kind of interesting because at first it came out, and I think it was like 40 days or something like that. And it came out and it got some takers, and then it went through kind of a stagnant period. And it wasn't until the last couple days that people really rallied and got My Bear Jeff into a state of reality. How did that play out for Mixtape?
Getting down to the deadline, my parents, they said, "We believe in you. We believe in Mixtape. We think it's going to go." So they threw up the rest.
So they have a bunch of Mixtape decks.
My mom has, she's got like 5 of them, but mostly just for gifts to hand out to people.
Well, as you notice, over in the corner, we have a small pyramid of promotional mixtape decks that we gave to our guests in the fourth quarter last year, and they loved them. Now we've also had other people in here, like when Brock and Brody from Divi HQ came in. He loves Mixtape. He's been playing it for years.
Yeah.
Like they love that game.
Yeah.
And we've had quite a few people that, as we've played it, or, we always ask, here, because if you listen to the show regularly, you've heard us play Mixtape.
Yeah.
And some people come in and they're terrified. They're like, man, are we going to play Mixtape? And can I see the card ahead of time or something? Which we usually don't go. Okay. So then you raise a couple bucks. This is still 2015, or have we progressed?
No, that's still it.
Okay. So then you get the money in, you print the decks.
Yes.
You ship the stuff out. Then what?
I had 4 pallets of Mixtape decks in my garage.
Wow.
Which was cool. I actually was in Sweden for my job, so my brother had to unload the truck, pallet jack them in.
I had to do that when my books were arrived. People don't realize that, like, when a truck comes, the truck driver isn't expecting to do shit other than like pull up the truck.
Yeah.
So he pulled up and he was with 2 pallets of books, and I was like, he was like, yeah, all right, you got pallet jack? I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, do you have a lift gate? Anything? He's like, no.
Yeah, this guy had a lift gate.
The guy in the building next door to me had a forklift. He came over and pulled him off the truck for me. Yeah, like for real. Otherwise, we were going to have to like basically
one book at a time,
one box at a
fireman
time.
style.
Yeah.
This guy was cool. He had a lift gate and a pallet jack. And then once we told him the story, he was like, oh, I'll help you, man. Come on, get in here. It wasn't his traditional delivery route. So once we told him the story, he was down to help.
Yeah. The truck driver they don't take too kindly to
So you got a couple pallets of them or whatever. Did you then have to ship every one of those boxes one by one to everybody on
Yeah,
Kickstarter?
so I had built the
shipping parties.
I had built the website already. I had kind of built a pseudo office / UPS in my house, and I had ordered from Uline all the boxes. I had rubber stamps with Mixtape, so I had all of that ready to go prior to the order arriving. And once they came in, I updated Kickstarter, let everyone know that hey, they're in. I was making graphics of like big boats coming across the ocean, like we're 3 days out from delivery. With the Mixtape logo on the side and stuff. And I got them back and started shipping them first to all of the campaign contributions. So I had koozies and stickers and all of these things. And I had
free swag.
I had a whole line of everything you need to, mail and ship everything that you wanted to deliver. I really wanted to make sure that everyone that had donated got all of their stuff just exactly as they had,
So after all the donors got everything, the people who bought the first, deck, they ordered 2 decks, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
What did you have left over from that? Did you really have any excess inventory or actually have any real money to help? Or was it pretty much like you sold all that stuff, you shipped all that, and you got to hope the business grows from there, from that kind of those fans? Or where did that kind of leave you?
So I think I got 2,500 decks with that initial order. So I had funded with the 15,000, some marketing fees and all of that. I got 2,500 decks. I probably gave away or shipped out 300 for the Kickstarter itself.
Okay.
So not a lot of, I didn't lose a lot of decks. So I was, because it was Kickstarter, I didn't still have any cost other than creating that office and shipping everything out. So now it was time to just get things on the website rolling. So
you had an inventory of 2,000 decks to work with.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, and the website was good to go. I had Square set up so I could ship, with orders online. And I wanted to get it out locally because I thought if I could get these in stores, a couple of retailers here in Kansas City, there's a good chance that I could replicate that, in other cities across the U.S. So I just started here. My sister-in-law at the time worked for Standard Style in Baldwin, and she got them in before Christmas. I got the decks in November. So I was just trying a little quick
good timing
rush.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you learn pretty quickly that fulfilling your orders sucks?
Yes.
Yeah.
But, to be honest, I thought it was a blast because it was
at first.
Yeah. At first.
Yeah.
At first.
The new car smell of order fulfillment wears off pretty quickly.
See, I
went through that with my books. I was like, cool. And then all of a sudden you like realize that you didn't sell like 300 of them in like a blast. And now all of a sudden you sell like one. And you have to like stop what you're doing, print the label.
Yes.
go drop it off, like all that stuff. And you're like, wow, that's a lot for like $2.
That was one of my favorite things back in the Den Solutions day was invoice day. I'd have to print all the invoices out and it'd be like a ream of paper and one by one stuff them in envelopes and mail them out. But like, that was still fun, like to have a whole like
that's one day
ream
that's
of
like,
paper.
But you do them in a row, and like
was a
that's
fun
all.
day
That's
every
all
time.
one.
Printing money.
I get it, but that's all one setting.
Yeah.
But my point is like, and a lot of people don't think about this, is because you get that one blast. But if you had to do that like
Every
if you
day.
did like one. And not even in a predictable interval. It wasn't like at 3:00 you're going to stuff your invoice envelopes and send them out for the day.
I mean, at first I would just crank the music. It was like taking a product from idea to holding it in your hand to someone actually purchasing it. I had a good time with it for a while. When I sent them all out Kickstarter, I used the Leawood post office, and they had like a bin where all of it was just mixtape boxes stacked. The team down there were super cool. They knew the story. They're like, oh man, you're still back here. And then, every day I would ship out 5 here, 8 here, 3 there, 1 there.
There's probably 100 people just like you that come in there every day with some sort of thing they're shipping.
Sure.
Well, at some point, like when we ran the ticket company, UPS and FedEx came to us.
Oh yeah.
Which was like, but at one point they didn't. And, we had to here's the thing, you had to have that stuff there by X time or it wasn't getting out. And that becomes problematic. Well, with tickets, tickets expire.
Right.
And also we had to, like StubHub and certain things, like if you don't ship them out on time, they start to penalize you. But that order fulfillment thing is kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah. The fear of having a bad review or someone saying I didn't get this fast enough.
Yeah.
That's what drove me to do it every day as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So now if you have a robust enough sales, log, then, it's way different. But because, so books typically sell really quickly when they first come out, and then they look like Enron stock.
Right.
So that's part of why things like Amazon, in my opinion, so Amazon takes a pretty big chunk for Prime. They'll take like 30% of your sale, but they're also covering the shipping. They're doing the fulfillment. They're obviously doing the marketing. They're dealing with all the upkeep, a whole bunch of other stuff. So at what point all right, so you were doing some of that for a while, but that isn't where it ended up.
Right. Yeah, I did get into Amazon. They had something called Launchpad, which was for startups. So minimal cost. It actually didn't cost me anything. They took a very small percentage of each sale. And I was able to kind of set up my own mixtape page and sell it online as well. About that time, some of the larger retailers locally, Amazon was ordering 30 at a pop. So that was a case order. So I didn't have to individually box and black paper wrap and throw a sticker in there. So that made it a little bit easier. And some of the retailers that were faithful, they were ordering 20 or so a week, and I didn't have to box those. I could just bring them the boxes themselves. I did go through a stage where I would actually fabricate like a plywood display box because I didn't have that, and stamp it with mixtape and all that. And most retailers were like, yeah, we're good. We don't need that. It was kind of janky, but some people loved it, and I enjoyed making it, just, going through the process.
Okay. So eventually you arrived at distributorship.
Yes.
Now let's talk about that, because this is where things start to get exciting.
Yeah. So I was actually down to about my last 50 boxes from that initial order. And I got a call from Sherry Spiro, who's the CEO of AdMagic, which is the company that printed Mixtape in that original run. She's also the CEO of Breaking Games, which is the retail arm of her business. So AdMagic is more the production side. Breaking Games is the retailer. So she had reached out and said, it was funny because it had been at that time, it had been in stores and they had been printing it for 2 years. And she said, I was at a party at my friend's house and they pulled this game out, Mixtape. She's a musician and has a musical background. So she said, we had such a great time playing it. And they told me, you printed this. And she's like, we did. So she goes back to the office, and sure enough, there's Mixtape sitting on their shelf of games that they make. And it was that point she called and said, I want you to license this to me. I think we can get this into bigger stores. So I said yes. And we did.
So how did that work out? Because there's a pretty big win. You left us hanging there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been great. We got into Barnes & Noble first. It had already been in Uncommon Goods, which is an e-commerce retailer out of Brooklyn. They kept ordering it even after licensing it. And we did Bed Bath & Beyond, took a small order. A couple of small mom and pop kind of game stores around the U.S. started taking it. And then we got it into Target.
And now they ordered a lot.
They ordered 49,997 decks.
Why did they come up with that number?
I know. Just round up 3 decks and I could say 50, but I did anyway.
It's funny. Talk about the mixtape barge.
Yes.
Bringing over the.
Yeah.
So you said that 2,500 decks was 4 pallets?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So in that process, I mean, we had also, we reviewed the cards again. You know, they kind of had someone copy edit it because I had been doing it at the time, which I didn't do that well. We redesigned the box so that, you know, on a shelf with 50 other games, it could stick out. And they really wanted to drive home the cassette tape part of Mixtape, which in the first design, you know, I didn't have that as obvious. So
box looks great, by the way.
Yeah.
I've always liked the way that you've put this together. I think that the Mixtape box looks attractive, the logo, the cassette, because like who really has the cassette anymore? But that was a Mixtape.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you ever make a Mixtape?
Oh yeah.
Did you ever make one for a girl?
No.
Did you?
I made like hundreds of them.
I was too young for that. It became CDs when I got to that age.
Yeah,
Right.
I wasn't.
And then I made CDs, custom
Well,
CDs.
yeah, I did. Yeah, same thing.
I remember the tape to tape. It was like the reel to reel,
Yes.
you know, like where you could reel. I mean, those are the actual physical cassette mixtape. Those were the glory days.
Yeah, I was all in on. I'd draw on the cover art, and yeah.
And then there was the kind too where you could actually speed up. You could like do it at like 2 or 3 times,
yeah.
and that way you could make mixtapes even faster. You
Oh,
could
yeah.
really pump some volume out.
Yeah.
I was watching the Evolution of Hip Hop series. I've been keeping up with that on Netflix, and you know the mixtape itself, like just the self-created tape, has been a very big part of music history when it came to a lot of really well-known artists, especially hip hop artists, because they were making their own. They're using like the Roland 808 and a home microphone and making like original like OG rap shit, and they were like selling them like $3-4, and, and there was talking. It was one artist, I can't remember who it was. He goes, there was a time in high school where we had this going so strong, we had $200,000 cash.
Oh wow.
Like, and he said that like they would pull up to the school and just basically like everyone was waiting for the new tape.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Chicago just a couple of years ago, and a guy hit me up. He's like, "Hey, man, this is my mixtape.
Yeah.
$10, handed me a CD.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." So it's still going.
Yeah, it's still out there.
I've seen that out on the streets. Yeah.
And you can do that a lot easier now because you have things like SoundCloud and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, you know, it's kind of hard to make the revenue off of that. But yeah, that was so the actual mixtape itself. Okay, so when you license a game, let's talk about the mechanics of that. And we don't have to necessarily talk about numbers, but what does that mean?
It means that I've just given them the right to kind of direct the sales and marketing for my product as they see fit. So I'm not allowed to sell it on my own. I work with their team, or I have worked with their team to work on just some marketing strategy and stuff like that. I still can speak via social media for Mixtape. I didn't give up that right. But as a product itself, I've kind of given ownership for a set amount of time to them.
For the deck. But there was something you left out of that, right?
Right. So going back to even before we printed the deck, the first iteration of Mixtape was to make it an app. That's what I wanted to do because I thought I could see a little bit of the future of where these were going. And I thought it would work well, especially when people are separated geographically. The cost was too big of a challenge for me at that time. So that's actually why I did the card game, because it was something that I could produce that was affordable. I also thought it was kind of give me an MVP and prove that the idea had value and would sell.
I think you proved that with a 50,000 order deck. Now, what's the lifetime cycle of this is close to 100,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but with the distributorship agreement, they deal with all of it.
Yeah,
like, they were the ones that were recorded Target, right?
Correct. Yeah, they have meetings with the buyers from all of the kind of large brick and mortar retailers, both in the U.S. and now in 7 other countries. The deck is live and selling.
Oh,
so
wow.
they do all the trade shows. They do everything like that. They've kind of just taken ownership of moving it.
And so when a parent company or when an organization licenses the rights to something, they're going to take all the responsibility and the risk for printing it, and distributing it. Meaning they could print 20,000. Well, they could print 50,000 decks, and the Target doesn't pay the bill or sends them back.
Right.
And that's their issue now.
Yeah.
That's up to them to deal with, and then the licensee is going to get X percentage of revenue.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a royalty at that point.
Yeah.
We had agreed upon rate, and I want them to sell as much as, and there's an incentive for them too. The risk, they're going out and pushing it, and it's been in trade shows, and they take it everywhere they go. They still talk about it. So
How is that going? Is it continue to grow? They're doing a good job?
yeah, I'd say there's stable organic growth.
Okay.
Target didn't reorder this year, which was unfortunate. But I don't know why. I don't have those details. The indie game industry is growing as it has for, since 2015, since Cards Against Humanity, they kind of paved the way. So there's a lot of competition. Still have yet to see, other than those that shall not be named. I still haven't seen a music game that's structured the way Mixtape is.
Well, we don't have to name the name, but someone made a knockoff.
Yeah, that was a company, actually the first company that approached me about licensing, and I said no to.
Think about that. You show up to try to sell someone a license agreement. They say no, or you say no. You go license it to someone else, and then they make a frickin' knockoff.
Yeah.
And they made it
It's pretty lame.
and got it on the shelves in the same amount of time that we did. So we were competing on the shelves at Target.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's a bummer.
it's lame.
Yeah.
Why you gotta be hating? That's where "Fuck You" by CeeLo Green's the right card to play.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you didn't license the digital version
Correct.
of the game, and now you're keeping that in your pocket. And it was shortly thereafter that we met.
Yeah.
Right?
So I had done some.
So the target order was in the fourth quarter of 2017.
Right. November. Yeah.
Okay.
We met in.
Well, you came to a sweet and greet.
Right.
Ended up becoming one of the model reasons why one of the silos, one of the pillars of success.
I like pillar.
That sweet and greet. And for sweet and greet, when Matt and I launched Full Scale, we were looking for a way I was really looking for a way that we could build a brand within our own community, but do so in a way that was communal. And, at Full Scale, and once again, and I didn't even mention this episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by fullscale.io. That's a business that Matt and I own together. And, we have a couple hundred employees in Cebu City in the Philippines, and we help companies build software. And we like to consider ourselves as being contributing members of the startup community here in Kansas City. So we're sitting around, we're thinking about what could we do? We wanted it to be fun. I think Matt and I at that point were so tired of regular networking things. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
you don't even
sure.
like going to them. I
I
go
don't
to
either.
them because it's like part of my job, but I'm not going to pretend to love them. So we got suites at the local venues, and we started inviting entrepreneurs, investors, and influencers to come to concerts, sporting events, and
I
different
went this
stuff
weekend
like that. Yeah.
with some of our some people, and we watched monster trucks together.
Yeah,
It's a good
actually,
time.
you were there with former Startup Hustle guest Matt Basinger, the founder of Blade and Timber. Did you
Yeah,
guys
axe throwing.
Did you throw axes in the suite?
No,
Can you get an axe into the suite?
probably not.
Yeah, I don't think that might set off the metal detector.
Might.
But we had a great talk. It was great
Yeah.
meeting him. I got to meet him,
Right.
and it was very cool. Like that was the power of the networking of it. It was very cool.
Yeah. So, you haven't met Matt, have you?
No.
Because that's right. That was okay. So there you go. But with that, I had invited some different people out. I always try to say I'm kind of the administrator of the sweet and greet. Is that fair to say?
Mhm.
I go to most of the events, and I try to I try to find a mix of people. Like, I don't want it to just be all like clients. I don't want it to just all be this or that. So at that point, it was still pretty early, and I'd invited some different people, but was it the Kiss concert?
Oh yeah.
Oh dude, I'm never going to, okay. So funny story. I overbooked the suite by one ticket, and I had to buy myself like a shitty get-in ticket. And I got there and it was cold.
Yeah.
And Kiss had not set up on time. They had some kind of delay. They did not open the door at the time they said they would. Now, all the suite tickets get an entry to the Founders Club, which is like a VIP entrance,
Right.
but it's on the other side of the building. So anyway, everyone that was with us walked all the way around the building, but I didn't have that ticket. So I had to stand out. I stood outside in a long line, freezing my ass off. And then I had to sneak myself into the suite. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that, Sprint Center. But anyway, so I finally got up there, cold. And I start talking to Joel, and I said, oh yeah, he introduced himself. We started talking about Mixtape. I told him that I had a history of working in the music industry. And I was like, man, this is a really cool game. This should be an app. And Joel, I never forget, Joel goes, now you know why I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, the Sweet and Greet was this huge. I had done a lot of the traditional networking, or I was in the e-scholars program at that time at UMKC. So trying to put the idea of making Mixtape digital in front of people, in front of the startup community, potential investors. And as soon as I saw Sweet and Greet, I signed up like within 5 minutes. I stopped what I was doing and said, I want to meet someone in a social environment.
Right.
And I knew that it was going to be cool. Plus, I didn't know if it was going to be Kiss, but that was just a bonus that it was actual.
They shot off a lot of fireworks.
A badass rock concert.
Yeah.
Where I got to be in a suite.
Yeah.
And just share the idea. It never felt like a pitch, even talking with you. It was just real natural.
Right.
And you were the first one that actually took it serious.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because we talk about things here that went well and sometimes didn't. Trying to sell things that are non-traditional. This is an indie investment.
Yeah.
And I say indie just meaning like it's different. It's not mainstream. It's not like a straightforward, like Stackify as a software as a service.
Yeah, it's
platform.
not a B2B SaaS company.
Yeah.
This is more of a consumer play. It's an app. It's a mobile app. It's different.
And it's also something that, well, it's at that point licensed, but doing well. But still, you have some questions around it. So I had questions around it. Now, with that at full scale, some of the things that we had committed to was reinvesting some of our resources. And, the reality is when you have a couple hundred people, at this point, we were at maybe like 100. But we have people that are looking for things to do, because the idea that 100% of our staff is fully engaged with clients 100% of the time is 100% wrong.
Right.
So, I like the idea of it, but had you talked to other people? There was some like, this isn't some, most investment people are going to look at this and be like, this isn't normally what we do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even applying to Techstars, I had really good, real conversations with investors or leaders in the startup community here, and they couldn't find a fit for it, or they, some of them, just blatantly said, this isn't serious. This isn't something we would give you money for. It's just not serious. We don't see any growth. We don't see any revenue potential in it. The target factor, while I thought was a fairly strong reason to at least give it more consideration, just didn't seem to open anyone's eyes or ears or wallets.
I looked at it differently. And having had a history with music, and we even talked about this. I feel like I kind of got it right away. Just meaning like first off, I looked at a business that had no expenses. Like, there aren't any expenses, and it had positive revenue.
Right.
Which is all. That doesn't work for most? Wait, you make money? But with that, it seemed pretty low risk. But I liked that. I look at Mixtape, and it's so fun to play, and it has this ability to generate passive income. And I thought it would make a really cool app. And with that, if I'm going to be involved in something from an investment standpoint, I want it to be something that I could potentially make a call, do something. I don't know, man, move the needle, help, do something. I mean, I think you're kind of the same way with things you've invested in, Matt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to do things that you're passionate about, you really enjoy.
Right. And we liked the game and it was fun. And, and like I said, I thought I wanted to have a mobile app project that was there in the office and we've made a couple other investments into different companies like Divvy HQ is one, and that some of these healthy hip hop and these things give us some places to let some of our people that are in transition find a home occasionally. And but with that, I thought that Mixtape could be one of those things. I could see people playing it all around all the time. But you asked me, so we won't disclose terms, but we made an agreement to purchase 25% of the company. And for X amount of service. Yeah. And you were asking, we were talking about this before we hit record. So I don't know, are we going to be able to build the app? And I was like, I have no fucking clue, Joel. Yeah. Like those are pretty much the words out of my mouth. I was like, we're going to try our best, but I have never been
building software is hard.
Well, right. And I've never done anything like this because this is something that's going to have to work on different kinds of mobile devices. It's going to have to be signed in different ways. And then anything that's sharing things across those devices in a kind of a real time kind of way. Yeah.
Is this your first time, Joel, building software like this?
Correct.
So how, for other founders that are listening, that are thinking about doing it, what would you tell them?
There's a universe of things that you do not know and you can't read about, and you don't know if the connection between the things in your mind you think will work are possible. They eventually were with Mixtape. I mean, there was just a bunch of unanswered questions that were unknown to me prior to mapping this out as far as my experience would allow me to. So when people would come up and say, well, if they're on this device and this device, how are those things going to connect? Right. Are they going to be able to play at the same time? These are things that I just had no idea that.
I mean, is it fair to say that it has taken like twice as long as you would think it would take?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you were real honest about whether or not we knew it was possible or these things would even work, that really helped set my expectations of reality. Plus everything I had read about, these things take longer. They go over budget, so to speak. There's just a lot of unknowns. Even though you can read that it's possible, actually making it happen is a challenge. And you have to not pivot the whole idea, but you have to accept some challenges might push you in a slightly different direction than you want it to go. Are you okay with that? I was, because some of those things were improvements. Some of the things that the Full Scale team suggested or brought up as a challenge and a way to go around it, work around it, or suggest something different, ultimately made it what it is right now, which is a better version of what I thought it would be. The functionality's there, and we will continue to improvement. But as a baseline, is extremely challenging, both.
Well, so I worked with Joel a little bit. I mean, barely, let him be the product owner of it. And like about once a month, kind of sat down to see where we're at and talked to the team. When I was in Cebu, what was that? Probably 5 months ago. Yeah. Sat down to finally play. Now we'll be up front. We had some issues with it because I was right. Trying to connect all these devices in that kind of real time-ish mode of play is hard. It's hard. And, there's game servers and stuff like that is where we basically arrived at, but trying to get things to work on people's different devices. And then also one thing is all this music that you're playing, it's licensed, it's owned, it's the property of the artists or the label or something like that.
So they integrate with Spotify.
And that's where we arrived. Now that'll be the first of many. Because you got to be able to sign into it. But, so then you have to integrate the Spotify API. And here's the thing is there's limitations because the only thing that would actually work, you have to be a premium member, not just have Spotify.
Right.
So that's still something that we're dealing with from the build standpoint is if you don't have Spotify premium, you're not going to play the app. And I guess we can go ahead and say that we have an app now.
Right.
And it's fun. Yeah. And we're going to play it here in a minute, which I'm probably going to win. But with that, let's talk about that. So about 5 months ago when I was in Cebu, I sat down and we had built the very first version of the app to be very, very, very similar to the actual. Okay, now I'm not a reading rules or the way we play Mixtape here on the show is actually not the real rules. The real rules have like a judge involved and some different stuff like that. We play like the lazy version where we pick a card, and because we play a 1-card game here, we don't know.
Right.
So with that, we had built the original version to very much emulate the card game. And Joel and I would talk and we played it, and we were just kind of like, there's something missing here. Yeah. There's just the digital version. And the problem is if any part of the gameplay relied on one person having their shit together and actually being there at their device, and they weren't, it would hold the whole thing up.
Right.
Or it would ruin the game or something like that. So we sat down, and I was there in Cebu and kind of whiteboarded it out. And I had just finished rereading The Story Brand, which is a marketing book about, telling the story of your brand. And I kind of used a lot of those principles to try to make the user experience of the game a little easier. It's like some of the instruction cards.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what's hard is like, so at this point, like, you have a wife and you're also married to Mixtape,
right?
Because you've been playing it for so long, and that makes things kind of hard. Now, with that, I didn't want to just like say, "Hey, Joel, this is how Mixtape is now."
Right.
So we talked about it some, and we knew that there was something missing, but we stretched it back out because there was goofy things. Like, for example, if you had an even number of players, what do you do with the tie?
Sure.
And those
are the fun examples of, as a software development team, like the whole team's held up and like, oh, we have this big issue in this blocker and we don't know how to deal with it. And then like days can go by.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what to do and how to solve these things.
Yeah.
And it's the little things like that nobody ever thinks of that all of a sudden become like a giant time suck.
Right. Yeah. I would say, the length of time it took to get it this far wasn't because the team wasn't working on stuff. It's things like that.
It's like, I don't know what to do.
Right. And I think, for speaking to another founder, I would say, you need to be flexible in when you get input from people, mentors like you guys. That was part of the reason the investment was more valuable than just a traditional money one, is because at that point, both of you had reviewed it and kind of given a laundry list of what you thought would be improvements or what you thought sucked. Now, me as a founder, I can either ignore those and say, this is how I'm going to do it, or I can take them into account and think about them. And all of them, we've implemented all of them, because I don't know those things. You do. Our developers were bringing up stuff and I was like, you know what, that sounds good. Let's go with that.
Well, and there are some development firms that you may work with and you give them the specs and you get exactly the specs, right? And they don't really provide that kind of feedback.
Exactly.
And next thing you know, the game would end in a tie and like just explode.
Yeah.
Because nobody thought of that scenario. So
that was like one of the issues. And that was actually what I liked about getting involved in the business, is because Joel's entire life did not depend on Mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that removed a little bit of the stress or pressure of the timeline. And then with that, I mentioned one of the things at Full Scale is we've had a few different developers come through Mixtape. So from our mobile developer team, there's 5 or 6 people that have worked on Mixtape. And so that can kind of speed things up and kind of slow things down. But at one point we had about a 60-day period where we didn't have a bunch of new mobile app clients. So with that, we made a lot of progress with the game then, because we had a bunch of people that were weighing in on some different stuff. We got the game server popping and then learned to resolve a tie. That's when I was there, I was looking at it and I was like, what should we do here? And I was like, I had just the night before won a jackpot at the Waterfront Casino, which I'm the only person that's ever won money at that casino after that. But I was like, dude, you should do it like a slot machine. And that's where we came up with the tie. So it basically does randomize it. And it is what it is, but it keeps the game moving.
Yeah. And even them, not being so beholden to specs and things like that, the amount of developers that you guys had, the team that's worked on it, allowed different points of view. And from a product standpoint, this isn't the only thing I have going. I wanted flexibility. The whole game itself lives and breathes off of different perspectives, different points of view, different taste in music, different experiences. So as we're building this product, that's only going to add value.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
It's not just my perspective, my opinion, and what I think is going to work. It's everyone. So that was a bonus.
Let's play.
I'm already getting it ready. So if you want to play Mixtape the App, you can. It's in now. I want to let you know that at the time of this recording, it's functioning with Spotify Premium. We're going to broaden that out. And we'll call this the beta version.
Yeah.
We wanted to get it in the App Store, and we realized that there's things that we need and want to improve. So inside the app, I've decided to play with friends, and I've created an invite link, and I just text that to both of my future participants who momentarily will be joining me in the game lobby. Now, you can play against your friends. There's also an open feature here. We're hoping this is really like Words with Friends soon. You can just play with the entire world. If Joel would just join the game here. Oh, there he is. Now I'm gonna hit this button that says Start Game. Now in the comments and down below, whatever you're listening to, we'll have some links to this stuff. So here you go. We're gonna get started. Oh, did this just crash? Oh, wait, no, there's the game. And I was like, wow. Okay, you're a model about to take the most important runway walk of your life. All the models backstage don't think you have what it takes. What song plays as you blow their minds on the catwalk? There's only one answer for this. Okay. And now I have selected a song. I'm submitting it. Confirming it. Another player has submitted that song.
See, that's an example of a software bug that somebody didn't account for.
Why?
With more than one person.
It told me.
I have to. Did.
I know. I'm getting.
But those are the things that cause problems.
Hang on.
But did you get? So neither of you were able to get the song in?
No, I did. I got it.
Whoever got it first.
Yeah. I was already late, and I have a feeling I already knew the song, so I went another direction.
Okay.
Not the band.
I've submitted. Did you submit?
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you, man?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh my God.
Okay. So
I can't vote for myself.
No.
I'll vote for you. Damn. We all knew that was the song.
So my options are She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy, which was me. I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred, or Work by Rihanna. Now, once everyone has cast their vote. So,
oh yeah, I won, baby. Woohoo!
So
you did.
So with this, the app is now announcing that the round is over, and the winner gets to play their song for 35 seconds. Which we wanted to be artist friendly there. That is enough time that a band or an artist will earn a royalty for a play on Spotify. And it's also the spoils of the victory. On to the next card. Your boss calls you into a meeting, though you have no clue what it's about. You know it's going to be major. What plays in the background as you walk down the hall and turn the door handle? Okay, I've made my selection. I have submitted. I'm waiting for these two jokers. Now, with this, give you a little perspective, there is a 90-second timer. So there's currently 50 seconds left. When you're looking at the user interface, there's a search feature that lets you help. You can search Spotify. So on the last round, I entered sexy in there because I was looking for I'm Too Sexy, which Watson had already chosen. But you can definitely help. Oh, and it's time to vote. So the choices are Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit. I wonder who picked that one. Quit Playing Games by Backstreet Boys, or All About the Benjamins by Diddy, which was my choice. I am not picking Limp Bizkit.
I thought Limp Bizkit was outlawed.
We're going to talk about software solutions that
scope
are
creep. That was not in the scope of the software design.
So I have voted I'm going to just be up front while they're still voting. I voted for Backstreet Boys because I will not vote for Limp Bizkit because it's been banned.
Okay. The votes are in.
Everyone has chosen. The votes are being tallied. Oh, and the winner is Quit Playing Games by the Backstreet Boys.
Maybe you're getting fired. Maybe you're getting a raise. You never know.
That's why I picked All About the Benjamins. So anyway, the app is keeping score. Currently, Joel has 1. Watson has 1.
Oh.
I have 0. Now, I do have a skip feature on here, which I've chosen. Now, all players have to pick skip.
Majority.
The majority of players have to pick skip. So someone's really riding out their win here.
It's not me. I'm muted and I skipped.
What song plays while you stand on the bow of Titanic with your new love? God, I want to pick Fuck You by CeeLo Green so bad. How do we deal with the fact that that's the best answer to every card?
Well, it's not. But
it is for 98% of them. What song plays while you stand on the bow of the Titanic with your new love?
I can't get the search to work now for some reason.
Why?
I don't know.
Probably because you don't have a good answer.
I searched for Limp Bizkit last time.
It penalizes.
Maybe
you
I
after
found
that.
a bug. I can't search.
No.
Okay, so I have to pick one that's on my screen here, I guess.
The answers are I Love You by Billie Eilish, Sweet Child O' Mine by Guns N' Roses, or Pony by Genuine. Oh, I've cast my vote. And
Yes! Yes!
And as you can hear the app.
Yes.
Does that mean I'm the winner? I got
yet.
2 votes.
Doesn't.
Are we done?
Well, it's a 5-round
It's
game.
a 5-card game.
Oh, we're going to keep going.
Yeah, I'm hitting skip.
All right.
Unbelievable. Next card.
Nobody like Pony?
What song plays in your head as you cruise around town all gangsta before you snap out of it and realize you're driving a minivan?
I can't search. No.
Really?
No, it doesn't work. It's broke. See? Nothing. I can't play. No. Oh, this isn't good. I can't enter a vote. I can't pick a song.
There's a reason for that.
This is why building software is hard.
We've built this app to penalize you.
This is how I got banned. I picked Limp Bizkit and it was
Limp
over.
Bizkit, it slowly begins to self-destruct.
Well, sorry guys. I guess our game's over. I can't even play anymore.
We're going to play without you. Now, we should talk about that. What happens if someone doesn't choose?
Well, a lot of things we've decided upon. Some of them have worked, some of them don't. Usually, they would still get a chance to vote. In some cases, it would submit a song for them.
Yeah, but we pulled that back out.
Right.
Because what was it picking? What was the default?
The Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yes, the default pick. There should be some random ones like that.
Okay, so
I agree.
Due to not knowing how to, we have 2 Ice Cube selections.
Oh,
so
wow.
Matt didn't technically get his vote in time,
Right.
which meant that the game moves on without him. And that was one of the things in the original game. And once again, we mentioned the beta.
I had the winning song.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
It was definitely White and Nerdy by
now
Weird Al
here's-
Yankovic.
It was a good day.
Yeah.
And DeCoursey's back in the game.
So you still got to vote. Your song just wasn't up for selection.
Yep. So anyway, we can skip that and move on to the final card. You can finally quit the worst job you've ever had. Can I? You tell off the boss and all of your incompetent coworkers in an epic fashion what song is playing as you slow motion strut out the door.
That CeeLo Green song would work here. I feel like we talk about him a lot.
I know.
See, I still can't search. It took the first letter I put in it to search. And then when I put another letter, it won't search.
So if you're listening, don't pick Limp Bizkit songs
Right.
and your app will not be disabled. So these are some of the things that, like I mentioned, having a beta, when you're building software, like this shit's hard. Like we're on iPhones and you're on Android.
Yeah.
So like what caused that on card 4?
Oh,
Right.
well, now the whole thing just crashed, I think.
I white screened as well.
Oh, we all white screened.
Does that mean that it didn't happen?
This is why building software is hard.
Only here on Startup Hustle would that happen. So anyway,
That was awesome.
we live, we learn,
And but my phone is messed up now.
and we
There
improve,
go.
and
Oh,
we
man.
improve. So, and by the way, we'd like you to play and send us your feedback, because those are the kind of things, and that's why you do a beta, right?
Yeah.
Right. So now we went through all kinds of crap on the way to that. Just meaning like just trying to test it and different stuff. And that was always a challenge too. And that's part of why, if you have an app or a game or anything, like, okay, so we haven't officially quote launched this. Like we're not promoting it. We're not really call this more like our friends and family.
It's in beta.
Yeah.
in
But
beta.
but for this kind of reason.
Yeah.
And, so that kind of stuff is, you can get your app in the App Store, which is a really good idea. So you can mess around with it, because what you think works in the test emulators and all that other crap probably isn't going to be the exact same thing as it when it's on someone's phone.
Right. And since it's been in there, which has probably been a month or so, I haven't had that happen in the month that I've played it since we got it into both
Right.
stores.
Now, and we were talking before, like we've made a whole list of improvements and stuff like that, and got to push those live. If
Right.
you ever have an app in an app store, also you got to keep in mind it takes them a couple of days to approve it. Sometimes
Yeah.
you got to do a different. So did we declare that I'm the winner?
No, I
No.
had 2 votes. I could not lose, even if one of you won. I still would have had my 2.
Would we now? Would in that
Well, I
case
coulda got-
would we have played a 6th card? Have we provisioned that,
No, well,
or would
maybe
it
if
just,
was
or does
2-2
it just
and
spin?
2-2 and 1.
Yeah.
I think there would have been a spin for the winner.
Yeah. Because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Play infinite cards?
It was a good day.
So, and now that's, and as we kind of close out, that's the kind of weird stuff that's tough to provision. It's like you're sitting down, you're trying to build software, and you're just like, okay, what happens if it's 2-2-1? Now, what happens if it's
And the software engineer doesn't give a shit. He's like, literally tell me what line of code to write.
right?
Right.
What happens if it's 5 people playing and it's 1-1-1-1-1-1-1?
Yeah.
Like you could literally like, okay, like how do you figure that out? And those are the kind of things that I felt were kind of challenging along the way.
For
with
sure.
that. Other than just the general connectivity, like we mentioned, like 2 iPhones and an Android phone. Like Joel and I, we weren't having this issues. We
I
also
blew you up, I guess.
we also
Right.
didn't enter Limp Bizkit.
And it's not just, I mean, you want the developer to know what the solution is, but at the same time, as a product owner or whatever, you want that solution to be fun or to be well received by the person playing the game. Someone might be like, why does it have to be a random spin of the dice or spin of the wheel?
Yeah.
I want the option to do this. So with the feedback that we'll get, hopefully from the beta, we'll be able to kind of further go down that road of making user-friendly choices for the end result.
And as we close out, we'll even talk about, because Joel, we're going to have you back. We're going to actually we're going to make this a little more recurring.
Cool.
Because we want to keep up with the story. So being in beta, and we'll talk about some of the things that we were planning on proving. Some of the feedback we got is, well, I don't have a Spotify premium account.
Right.
We knew that was coming.
Yeah.
What were some of the other ones?
Do you have Apple Music?
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing.
Yeah,
Apple
right.
Music. Another thing like the submit button.
Yeah.
Like some user experience things until you put it out. And, and that's the thing is people are like, oh, I want to go through 900 iterations before I launch it. Just put it out. Just let some people mess with it and let them tell you what they find to be confusing, unusable, what they don't like. And when you hear the echo, there you go.
Nothing's obvious
Yeah.
to a first-time user to anything.
Yeah.
So you have to walk them through it.
So other than congratulating me on the Mixtape Championship and the Lifetime Achievement Award, you're not
Congratulations.
eligible. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out, this is why we don't use software during the podcast.
Yeah.
I would second that.
the first time ever.
But like I said, I mean, part of
You kept, maybe you were foreshadowing something there.
well,
That's funny.
we are though, because like I said, part of the thing here in 2020 that we want to do going forward is we want to share the stories of certain things that we're working on or with. And these are like, here's the thing, this is normal shit. Like
Right.
your app crashed, or
It's part of
it
the
wasn't
process.
perfect, or it
Yeah.
wasn't whatever. So now go fix it.
Right.
app, go fix it. Don't cry about it. Just you got to get back to work. You got to do stuff. This is normal stuff, like regardless of who you are. So Joel, we're going to continue to have you involved. We have some other fun and interesting announcements involving you, but we'll wait for a later episode for that. And now normally we would do the Founders Freestyle, but we're going to forego that. We're going to let that part of the show crash because we're having you back for some more of these. We've got a couple more ongoing things that we're going to be introducing for everyone soon. So stay tuned. Download Mixtape the app. See you next time.
Thank you.